All right. And greetings, everybody. Keith here. Hoping everybody's having a good day, enjoying life, living life, loving life. Coming at you again today with the 5 Mile Act and the Delaware claim of corporate entity being able to vote. So, before we get started, I want to remind everybody to hit that share, share, like, and subscribe button. There is a PayPal pin to the top if anybody wants to share some love. And I want to welcome everybody. Thank you for the support and continued viewing. And welcome, Laura, and anybody else that's here. I don't get to see all the viewers as I share on multiple platforms. So be sure you hit that share, like, and subscribe button real quick again. And the StreamYard link is coming up in case anybody wants to join me. Oh, it is already there. I do have it down there. So the StreamYard link is down there for anybody that wants to join. And we're going to get started with it. And we're going to bring up first the 5 Mile Act. And what we're looking at here is the 5 Mile Act. And this is from the Concise Oxford Dictionary of Christian Church. You can also find it in other legal references. And it's the common name for the Nonconformist Act, 1665, the year before the Sedequer Trust, Sedequer v. Act, which prohibited clergymen who refused to conform to the Act of Uniformity, 1662, from preaching, teaching, or coming within 5 miles of a city, town, or parish where they had previously officiated, unless they took an oath not to try to alter the government of church or state. So in 1662, they had the Nonconformist Act, commonly known as the 5 Mile Act. In 1663 and 1664, they had the plague come in. And of course, that plague involved all the rats. And in 1665, they had the Great Fire of London, in where it's a theory or a conspiracy theory, if you want to call it, that someone set fire to the town on purpose in order to get rid of the rats because they thought that's where the plague was coming from. In so doing, they were setting up the Sedequer v. Act, where they were going to move the records from the church to the state. And therefore, the clergymen that didn't agree with that were kicked out of town. Okay? Pretty sickening, offensive move. So the 5 Mile Act, also known as the Clarendon Code, is the title given inaccurately to the statutes passed after the Restoration, reestablishing the Church of England. They embodied the vindictiveness of the Cavalier majority in Parliament rather than the judgment of Lord Clarendon, Charles II's chief minister. So it was the Restoration, reestablishing the Church of England, and the Clarendon Code was a set of codes that they say embodied the vindictiveness of the Cavalier majority in Parliament, the state, rather than the judgment of Lord Clarendon, Charles II's chief minister. So this was the bringing of the state to the church together, bringing together the church and the state by dismissing the minister. under the Uniformity Act, which required clergy to have episcopal ordination. Episcopal ordination. Jeremiah 1:5. Before I formed thee in the belly, I knew thee. Before thou was cast from the womb, I sanctified thee and I ordained thee. You were already ordinated to be that minister. This is the process of the church and the state, or the state taking over the church and the government of the church to twist the language as they continue to do so every day. The language keeps changing, and it's not changing back to the origins. It's getting extensively farther and farther from the origins. If you paid attention to my last video just an hour or so ago, you'll understand a little bit more of what I'm talking about when it comes to parlay and what it means. All those different terms and conditions. It starts out as a parlay, as a vote, an elective vote. And then by the time you get done with it, it's to know, I know, to see, things like that. And it's just all babble. That's why the English language is so confusing, because it's not rooted in itself. It's rooted in many, multiple languages. So what it did was, says, required clergy to have episcopal ordination and use only the Book of Common Prayer. Remember, this is after 1611, the King James Version of the Bible, right? So they were telling everybody they could only use the Book of Common Prayer. Today, we still use, under Public Law 97-280, the scriptures of the 1611 edition of the King James Version as the law of the land. The Conventicle Act, 1664, penalized all religious meetings outside the church. Penalized all religious meetings outside the church. The 5 Mile Act, 1665, banned dissenting ministers from corporate towns. From corporate towns. And we know today that corporations are known as persons. They hold the status of a person. And every person gets to vote. So think about that. Greetings, Moon Peach. Glad you joined us. Anybody else that's out there that I haven't acknowledged yet, Dansomatic, greetings. Hit that like, share, and subscribe button for us. Make sure if you're on Hecklebus, go ahead and subscribe. Go over to El Perro and subscribe on El Perro, and vice versa. If you're on El Perro, go over to Hecklebus and make sure you're subscribed over there. That way, if our channels get struck, we can still get information to you on the other channel. So let's take a look at this again. The Delaware City, a city in the state of Delaware, is set to give corporations the right to vote in elections. A city in Delaware, a corporation in the state of Delaware, which is another corporation. Okay, these are both corporate entities. So the city as a corporate entity is set to give corporations the right to vote. Does that sound like you give yourself the right to vote? Does that sound like the police investigating themselves? Did you know that's the way it's actually supposed to work? Because you're voting for a president of a corporation. And you have to be associated through the same subject matter, which is corporate material. A Delaware city is set. It's already as set. It's the asset. It's set as a corporate entity already. And corporate entities are persons, and persons are the ones that are allowed to vote, not people. People register their person to vote. You register your legal entity to vote. The state of Delaware is famously business-friendly, with more than 1.8 million entities registered in the first state. Delaware was the first state. Companies outnumber its human residents by nearly 2 to 1. One city is now, remember that, the companies outnumber the human residents by nearly 2 to 1. So the democracy power resides in the corporate entities in the state of Delaware for electoral votes. One city is now moving to raise businesses' influence in the state even further with a proposal to grant them the right to vote. Seaford, a town of about 8,000 on the Nanticoke River, amended its charter in April to allow businesses, including LLCs, corporations, trusts, or partnerships, the right to vote in local elections. The law would go into effect once both houses of Delaware's state legislature approve it. The proposal has rekindled the debate over how much power corporations should have in a local government, with fierce opposition from civic interest groups who say businesses already wield too much influence over politics. It was very shocking to see this attempt. Again, if you watch my last video, you'll see the implications here of the terms and conditions that you see in all these different articles and what they're saying. It was very shocking to see this attempt to have artificial entities have voting rights. If you understand the language and how those laws are written, you'll understand that artificial entities are the only ones that have the right to vote. It is a civil issue. And yet we have fierce opposition from the civil people in those civic interest groups. This is what proves they're the ones caught up in the babble. They don't know what they're talking about. That's why it's so important for you to unlearn what they've taught you so you can relearn what is in fact true and pose that as your view. We're seeing voter suppression all over the county. And this is the flip side, she added. It's not saying the residents of Seaford can't vote, but it's diluting their votes by allowing non-residents to vote. If a corporate entity has the right to vote and they know it, they're going to act just like the people. And they're going to go out there and vote because they think their vote counts. Their vote counts more now than the people's vote, because that's where the politics gets their what do they call it? I'm having a brain fart. But they go forth and put forth these proposals, and they do it on behalf of the corporate entities. A fix for low turnout. Legislators have cast the change as a fix for low turnout in municipal elections and a way to attract business owners to the community. Seems like they already have too many business owners if they're outnumbering the regular human population 2 to 1. Okay? And it's not a fix for low turnout. It's a fix to make sure they guarantee success at the polls. These folks that have fully invested in their community with the money, with their time, with their sweat. The people that have them jobs that go out and work every day to make that paycheck and then go out and spend that very paycheck on material that by process is already prepaid is a scam. So what is the deal with their time, money, and their sweat? Doing paperwork? Writing little notes? Come on. We want them to have a voice if they choose to take it. Seaford Mayor David Genshaw told local station WRDE Genshaw cast the deciding vote in a split city council decision on the charter amendment in April, according to the lever. According to Delaware Online, there are 300 or 234 entities, including LLCs, trusts, and corporations headquartered in Seaford, a significant number for a town where an April election only garnered 340 votes. You suppose that'll swing votes in a landslide? Seaford is one of several towns that already allow absentee property owners, those who own a property but do not occupy it, to vote on certain issues like taxes. That's the main issue. Taxes that hinder and inhibit people from performing actual contracting under those corporate entities. Okay. The proposed charter amendment would expand that further to allow any artificial entity. They're all artificial entities. You're the only real thing there is. All persons are artificial entities. They are creations. Fictional creations that exist on paper only, including but not limited to corporations, partnerships, trusts, and limited liability companies to vote in all elections. Under the proposal, corporate entities must register as voters with City Hall, which is what the people of the population have to do. They have to register to vote. When a person when people register to vote, what they're doing is they're handing over their person. So when a corporation registers to vote, they've already handed over their person. They are already organized under the laws of the United States. And the United States already has that personal jurisdiction. And include a list of their beneficial owners. City officials are then intended to cross-check these lists with resident voter polls or voter rolls to prevent double voting, according to the proposal. So what you have is people that are have their main office in Seaford but live somewhere else. They still get to vote where they live as the man, and they get to vote in Seaford as the person. So they get to register their person as, through the man in their own community. And they get to register their corporation to vote, which it's already registered. However, Snyder Hall noted that the legislation only outlaws double voting for human residents of Seaford, permitting it for out-of-town business owners, as I just explained. It's a double vote, no matter how you look at it. If you're a snowbird, you don't get to vote twice, once in Florida and once in Delaware. Once in Florida and once in Delaware. They're only single votes. Same with the municipal level. The same at the municipal level. If you can cast a vote in this municipality because you've got a corporate charter there, but you live somewhere else, you can still enter a vote there. That's a double vote. 31 votes from a single manager. A handful of other Delaware towns, including Fenwick Island, Henlopen Acres, and Dagsboro, already allow corporations to vote. So the question's already been answered, like I said. According to Common Cause, human residents don't always take kindly to that permissiveness. In 2019, it was revealed that a single property manager who controlled multiple LLCs voted 31 times in a Newark, Delaware town referendum, an incident that led Newark to amend its rules, and residents in Rehoboth Beach in 2017 beat back a proposal to allow LLCs to vote. You guys catching on to this? I want to take a minute to greet Eric Lieberman. Anybody else that might be watching? I know it's a bad time for these videos, but hey, we're going to keep going and hope everybody shares, and subscribes. So make sure you do that. And if you're on Hecklebus, check out El Perro. Make sure you're subscribed there and vice versa. That way, if one of the channels gets struck, we can still put this out and you can still get notice. So let's finish up real quick. There's only a couple more to go. Delaware has plenty of other corporate inducements, including allowing owners of LLCs to stay anonymous and relieving businesses of paying corporate income tax. The vast majority of businesses headquartered in the state, including 2/3 of Fortune 500 companies, don't have a physical presence there. 2/3 of Fortune 500 companies have a business headquartered in the state, but don't have a physical presence there. That means they're voting both in Delaware and their home state. To become law, and in Delaware, they can, if they've got, as a Fortune 500 company, they like the one, they could have multiple companies and be voting through all of them. They're all separate persons. To become law, the charter amendment must be passed by 2/3 of the state legislature and then signed by the governor. The current session ends June 30th, but restarts next January, when the charter amendment could be considered again. The bill sponsors Republican State Rep Danny Short did not immediately return a request for comment from CBS Money Watch. The office of House Speaker Peter Schwarzkopf declined to comment. Schwarzkopf has previously expressed ambivalence about the legislation. I don't think it's a good idea, but I don't think I want to vote to stop it. I don't think it's a good idea, but I don't think I want to vote to stop it. Evil exists because good men refuse to do anything about it. Perfect example. He's in the position to make a vote, and he's sitting there saying, I don't think I want to vote to stop it. He would rather sit by and do nothing and let it happen, even though he doesn't think it's a good idea. So why doesn't he think it's a good idea? 340 votes out of 234 entities, or with 234 entities that can adjust that vote to a landslide decision. Earlier this year, progressives in Delaware legislature introduced a bill that would altogether ban corporate voting in local elections. See, again, like I said, they don't even know what they're doing, because corporations as persons, the legal entity, they're the only things that can vote to begin with. It has to be associative with that system somehow. So it has to be organized under those laws. If it's not organized under those laws, it's not supposed to be voting. If it is organized under those laws, it has an option. So if it doesn't think it's a good idea, they should vote not to, and not just stand by and say, I don't think it's a good idea, but I don't think I want to vote to stop it. See, that's the individual man at the legislative level in his individual private capacity and not his corporate. So he's actually making sense by saying, I don't think I want to stop a vote to stop it, because that allows him to use his corporate entity to the max. I hope you guys are catching on. It's important to do your research. It's important to understand what they're doing. And it takes a while. Like I said before, you got to unlearn everything you've learned and relearn it. Get back to Concise English Handbook, College Composition Handbook, and the Scriptures. Scriptures are known as the law of the land, not this bullshit. Okay? So in the meantime, I want to thank everybody. God bless. I appreciate you showing up and just listening even. That's an important part. So remember, folks, at the end of this one, it's going to be the same. I love you, and you know the rest. So God bless. Have a good day, and I'll see you again next time.